So for all intents and purposes, it appears that the SEC's case against Ripple is officially over. At least that's what Jeremy Hogan is saying, who is a legal expert following this SEC versus Ripple case. But I'm going to talk about the new information regarding what the SEC just did, its plans for an appeal if it could happen, and when. Also, I'm going to be talking about some timeframes regarding Bitcoin, XRP, and some of the rest of the crypto market regarding its next potential bull run, because right now the consensus is very much split. So we're going to be taking a look at a few factors right now that is affecting the crypto space, including the price of Bitcoin and XRP, and something that's going on behind the scenes that you may want to pay attention to. And it doesn't necessarily affect price, but it's something you're going to want to watch. Hey everyone, my name is Randy and welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And right now on this channel, we are covering cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, join the Late Night Grind community. And if you do a couple things, I'd appreciate it. Smash the thumbs up button and watch this video all the way to the end. If you do that, I greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, let's jump into it. So as the price of Bitcoin and XRP are fluctuating mostly to the north right now, as Bitcoin has cracked $30,000 and is continuing to find support, I wanted to talk about something that a lot of people have been interested in, especially if you look at the searches on Google and YouTube, and that is how to trade cryptocurrency profitably, because it's a very difficult thing to do. Well, right now I'm going to tell you, you can do that at Fairdesk, but you don't even have to trade. Fairdesk, which has partnered with the Late Night Grind community, does something called copy trading, in which you can sign up and then follow other traders on their platform, of which they will copy trade, and you can enjoy some of those profits. There's some amazing top tier traders doing some crazy numbers that you can go check out right now. There's a link in the description below. Like I said, all you gotta do is sign up, make a deposit, and if you're one of the top 3 depositors this week, you will get a free $100 added to your account. So make sure you go ahead and do that. So while this crypto market is climbing, you're gonna wanna make sure you maximize some of that profitability by following some of the top tier traders and let them do the copy trading for you. So now let's talk about some of those prices and some of the movements that have been happening. Like I said, Bitcoin has been climbing northward after a big spike last week, mostly due to what is now considered to be fake news, put out that a Bitcoin ETF was approved. Bitcoin spiked several $1,000s in about 6 minutes, of which some people found some shady trades going on, one of which had a $50,000 Bitcoin trade that ended up in a $2.2 million profit, potentially from the same person that sent out that tweet, but I'm not going to get into that on this video. And so right along with that, XRP moving up to 55 cents and of course pulled back. XRP's been trading anywhere from about 48 cents to 53 cents for several months now, really not deviating much out of that since Ripple had first officially won the case against the SEC. Well, not officially, but XRP did be called a non-security digital asset, and that is what I'm going to be talking about in the next segment. But right now, Bitcoin, the crypto market, and what's going on in the macroeconomic world is in a huge polarizing position. Now, I've been covering cryptocurrencies for a couple of years now, and this is one of the most polarizing times that I've ever seen in cryptocurrency, even at the peak of Bitcoin when it was up in the 60,000 range, as to what Bitcoin is going to do next. Is it going to fall or is it going to continue northward? So before I get into it, I want you guys to let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think Bitcoin is going to do. Because I've been following some incredibly successful day traders, trading groups on a daily and a weekly basis, seeing what they do, because they have been pretty accurate, not 100% accurate, but pretty accurate over the past 6 months or so. Now, a lot of them are calling for a $18,000 to $20,000 Bitcoin. In other words, Bitcoin is going to drop to that level to grab a huge level of liquidity that is just sitting there at that $20,000 level before it can continue its major run or bull run into 2024. However, there's a lot of other people saying that no, that's not going to happen. There's just simply not enough selling pressure to get it down there. There's not enough open interest to get it down there. However, when you look at some of the technical factors, well, there doesn't necessarily have to be major open interest to be flushed out to drive the price down and grab more liquidity. And in fact, right now, if you're looking at some of the technical factors like the RSI, well, the RSI has been moving downward as Bitcoin has been moving upward all year long. The last time that happened was when Bitcoin was in the 50 and 60,000, setting new all-time highs. The RSI wasn't going in a complete opposite direction, which is why some people said, hang on, Bitcoin is about to dump. And of course it did, albeit in somewhat slow motion. Some people are saying Bitcoin is setting up for a big drop to 20,000 by the end of the year. Probably won't happen in one fell swoop. But after that, there is major consensus from the trading groups that I see, from the macro people that I see, and even from the SEC, including Gary Gensler himself, that seems to have changed his tune about a spot Bitcoin ETF approval, which of course would add huge mainstream interest into Bitcoin that could send Bitcoin from that $20,000 level, if it gets there first, further and further northward on into 2024, which of course we know is a halving year. And a lot of times that halving year is a big bullish move. And in my opinion, from the analysis that I see, the analysis that I do, from the trading groups that I see, even to some of the major macro financial people, their podcasts, a lot of what I see seems to think that 2024 and 2025 is going to be the big years for Bitcoin and for cryptocurrencies, even though there's going to be some major changes that you're going to want to pay attention to. Specifically this one. I wanted to mention this before I get into the Ripple case and what that could do. Lynn Alden replied to one of John Deaton's tweets regarding a spot Bitcoin ETF. What she was saying was that, hang on, there's some news that's flying under the radar regarding US government and cryptocurrencies. Because yes, while a spot Bitcoin ETF could be huge for the price of Bitcoin, something like freedoms could be eroded by what the United States government is attempting to do. And this isn't anything necessarily new. What they're doing is going after cryptocurrency mixers, attempting to make them illegal, citing things like money laundering. It could be too big of a project to actually police all the transactions, everybody using mixers or attempting to use mixers. How would you go about policing that, especially in something that they can't really control in the first place? Well, it could be used selectively, meaning they could be going after certain individuals, certain organizations to make a huge spectacle of and scare people off from using it. But nonetheless, there's some of the freedoms, some of the anonymity that the United States is continuing to go after, even though, yes, they may allow that spot Bitcoin ETF very quickly. So as we move out of 2023 and into 2024, here shortly, a lot of people are following this Ripple case because a lot of it was over, except for the items that were against Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson, the executives of Ripple that were still being targeted by the SEC. Well, several days ago, the SEC officially announced that they are dropping those charges against Chris and against Brad Garlinghouse. Some of the initial takes were that, well, because they knew they were going to lose that as well. What's the point wasting time? Let's go for a settlement and finalize it out. At least we can get some more money out of Ripple. Well, then my X feed, there's some takes that we're starting to hit that said, hang on, the SEC is doing this for a reason. They're not necessarily stupid, and they always do things for a reason, especially if it's going to take a long, long time. Some of the takes started to come out that said, well, they're giving up on this case because that will allow them to file an appeal on the other parts of the case even quicker. And yes, that seems to be the case. Now they are not filing an appeal on whether XRP is a security because that has been deemed law of the land, but they were going after certain other of the wins that Ripple got in Judge Torres' last decision. So here's what Jeremy Hogan has to say about it, because I think it provides some very good insight into the fact that yes, it looks like the SEC will be appealing it, but here's Jeremy Hogan's take on will they actually win? So here is his ex-post explaining all of this. For all intents and purposes, the Ripple versus the SEC case is over. Yes, important hearings will be held in the coming months. Deciding a judgment of up to $770 million is of course important, but your time for hand-wringing over this case is done, in my opinion. The SEC dismissed the rest of the case, so there will be no trial next year. The facts have been set. Nothing new or surprising will come out, which means that the court will be issuing its final judgment probably sometime in the next year. Only Ripple needs to worry about that. The case, of course, could settle at any time before final judgment is entered. That is one possibility. If not, both the SEC and Ripple can file appeals. The SEC has indicated that it will appeal. Fair enough. So statistically, what are the chances of winning on appeal? Luckily, we have statistics to tell us. As you see below, the SEC has a 14.2% chance of winning on an appeal, and I think it's fair to say that the manner in which Judge wrote her opinion, which was very fact-based, at a minimum, does not increase that chance for the SEC. And so what happens is if the SEC appeals next year and the appellate court sides with it in 2025, because the way Judge wrote the order, the appellate court would have to send the case back down to trial judge for further judicial findings and determinations. As to the other distributions of XRP, you can see in FN 18 that the judge did not make findings as to the second and third prongs of Howey. Only the trial judge can do that. What would the trial judge rule? Who knows? But you have to think there's a chance she would rule for Ripple. The same thing would then happen with programmatic sales. If the appellate court agrees with the SEC, it would still have to send that issue back down to trial for further determinations. FN 20, for example, suggests that the judge is given some credence to Ripple's fair notice defense. And then, after the judge makes a second round of judicial determinations, it can then be appealed again up to the appellate court, now with all issues ruled on. And only then could the SEC win on appeal and leave with a victory, unless Ripple appeals to the Supreme Court. So the SEC has to, 1, not settle, and 2, win with a 14% chance, get through more hearings, win on another appeal, or at least something like that. And that's not even taking into account the possible act of Congress or change of political regime or something else I can't think of. So that's why I say, for all intents and purposes, this case is over. He finalizes it with, now that I have done the math and taking into account the chance of winning on an appeal, surviving litigation, and still being able to maintain the lawsuit against Ripple into 2026, the chance of the SEC winning is exactly 2.367%. I'm pretty sure he just made that up. About the same odds as the Jets winning the Super Bowl. So there you have it. As it stands right now, the case is unofficially over, and that's what a lot of people who have been following this case, who have been holding XRP, seem to have been thinking. Yes, there are some things that still need to be ironed out, including a lot of money and a lot of fines that Ripple will most likely need to pay to the SEC. Still could be some settlement news. Who knows what's going on? Let me know in the comment section down below what you think is going to happen with that, and if we're going to see finally some closure to this case officially by the time the Bitcoin halving happens on April 20th, 2024. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end, for smashing that thumbs up button, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.